Welcome to CS Academy. In previous video, I covered weightage of strength of material for GATE exam with some previous year GATE papers. In this video, I will explain most important topics in each chapter of strength of material subject. Let us discuss total syllabus of strength of material subject here. The first one is simple stresses and strains, and the complex stresses, shear force and bending moment diagram, center of gravity and moment of inertia, theory of pure bending, shear stresses in beams, concept of torsion, slopes and deflection, thin cylindrical cells, columns and strain energy concept. Here, out of these all concepts, the most important concepts are simple stresses and strains, shear force and bending moment diagram, and the concept of torsion, slopes and deflection, and thin cylindrical cells. Not only these 5 chapters, each and every chapter is important for the GATE exam. To discuss most important topics in each chapter, let's start with the simple stresses and strains. In the simple stresses and strains, the first most important concept is thermal stresses, and here if we consider a beam which is fixed at one end and the free is other end, here thermal stresses in the sense that supplying of heat. Okay, if we supply heat at other end, the expansion will takes freely. Here a important concept here is, if any beam is expanded freely without any opposite stress, then that beam will experience zero thermal stresses. Okay, this is most important concept they will ask in exam. And if both sides of a beam is fixed, if we supply heat at one side, okay, if we supply heat at one side, what will happen? The other side will restrict without elongation of the beam. Okay, here due to the opposite stress which is developed to avoid the elongation, here that stress is called thermal stresses. Okay, the thermal stresses is nothing but of E alpha delta T. Here alpha is the expansion coefficient, that is the coefficient of thermal expansion. This is the change in temperature here. Okay, if you see the formulas here, the thermal stress formula is E alpha delta T, and strain of thermal strain is alpha into delta T, and the elongation due to the thermal stress is nothing but of L alpha delta T. Okay, these three are the most important formulas in thermal stress concept in first chapter. And the next important concept is the relation between the elastic constant and stress strain relation. Here E equal to 2Z into 1 plus mu, E equal to 3K into 1 minus 2 mu. These are the relation between elastic constants of bulk modulus, Young's modulus, and shear modulus along with the Poisson ratio mu. Here with help of these two formulas, we can get the Young's modulus E equal to 9 kg by 3K plus Z, one formula, and one more we can calculate Poisson ratio mu equal to 3K minus 2Z by 6K plus 2Z. By equating these two, we can calculate the Poisson ratio. In exams directly they will ask to find the Poisson ratio by giving the Young's modulus and bulk modulus like this. Okay, and here the Poisson ratio value for the most of the materials will lies between 1 by 4 to 1 by 3. Okay, that is 0.25 to 0.33. Okay, we should learn the Young's modulus. We should learn the Poisson ratio for different materials like mu equal to 0 for cork, mu equal to 0.1 to 0.2 for concrete material, and mu equal to 0.5 for incompressible materials. Okay, like this there are different types of materials with different Poisson ratios. We have to learn these Poisson ratio values. They will ask directly in the exam. And there is a relation between true stress and engineering stress, that is true stress is equal to engineering stress into 1 plus epsilon, that is engineering strain. And one more thing, true strain equal to logarithm of 1 plus epsilon. This is also can be written as ln of A naught by AF, that is equal 2 times of ln of D naught by DF. Like this we have to learn these two formulas also, they will ask in exams. And the next important concept is elongation of bars. Here it is considered a bar is fixed at one end and free at other end, and the other end is supported with some load P. Because of this load, the elongation delta L due to this load is PL by AE. Okay, this is also can be written as gamma L square by E. Okay, if the beam is like this, bar is like this, without any external load here. Due to the self weight, the elongation due to self weight equal to PL by 2AE. Okay, this can be also written as gamma L square by 2AE. Okay, we should form the relation between these two. That is, elongation due to a self weight equal to half times of elongation due to external load. Okay, we should remember this point. And if you see the stepped bars like this, a bar is like this, and the elongation, let us consider this is the length L1, this is L2, and this is L3. The total elongation here is delta L1 plus delta L2 plus delta L3. That is the sum of elongations of all three sections. This is nothing but of principles of superposition. Okay, principles of superposition concept here. And the next important concept is a stress strain diagram here. If we see the stress strain diagram for the mild steel material, it is considered on y-axis we are taking stress and x-axis we are taking strain. Here the graph will be like this for the mild steel material. Okay, so here this point is proportionality limit, this point is elastic limit, upper yield point, lower yield point, ultimate stress and breaking stress. Okay, these points you have to remember the order. Okay, they will ask in exams. And this is the origin point. Here one small concept I will tell. Why we are taking stress on y-axis and strain on x-axis means x-axis is the independent axis. Okay, if we consider y is equal to mx here, x is the independent and y is the dependent. So whichever is independent we should take it on the x-axis, and whichever is the dependent we should take on the y-axis. So that here stress depends on the strain, because if we apply the load on the beam, before getting the stress, the body will get into the body will subject into the strain. So that's why it is an independent one. So that's why we are taking on the x-axis. And some of our stress strain diagrams for the different materials, like if you take the perfectly plastic materials, the graph will be like, and if you take the perfectly elastic materials, the graph will be like. If you take perfectly elastoplastic materials, that will be like this. If you take strain hardening material, like this. If you take strain softening materials, like this. They will ask exams like this. They will give 4 options like this, A, B, C, D, and what is the graph for the perfectly elastic materials. So we should select the question like this. Okay. And the next important concept is complex stresses. Here complex in the sense that is the combination of normal stresses and shear stresses. Here the most important concept in complex stresses is the Mohr circle, which is very very important. Every year they will ask questions from the Mohr circle. Here if you draw the Mohr circle, we should consider on the horizontal axis the normal stress, and on the vertical axis shear stress we should consider. Okay, if you draw a graph of Mohr circle like this, okay, it is the center, from center to the outside it is the origin, and this is the radius. If you see, this is the maximum shear stress here and here. Fortunately the both maximum shear stress and radius of the Mohr circle are equal. That is equal to square root of sigma x minus sigma y by 2 whole square plus tau xy square. This is the formula to calculate the radius or maximum shear stress of the Mohr circle. Okay, and sometimes they will ask maximum principal stresses, that is from this vertical axis to this side. This is sigma 1 and this is sigma 2. That sigma 1 and sigma 2 we can calculate like this. Sigma 1 is equal sigma x plus sigma y by 2 plus square root of sigma x minus sigma y by 2 whole square plus tau xy square. Similarly for sigma 2 we should substitute the minus here. Here you can see this is the radius of the Mohr circle, this is the average of these both stresses. So we can write like this normal stresses, we can write this principal stresses equal to sigma 1 equal sigma average plus radius of the Mohr circle. Okay, like this sigma 2 also we can write sigma average minus radius of the Mohr circle. Okay, if we analyze a small element of a beam in complex stresses, how the stress distribution you can see in this small element, and this is the shear stress along the axis which is making an angle theta with the vertical axis, and this is the normal stress. The resultant of these two stresses is the sigma r. Here how can we calculate sigma theta, in the sense that sigma theta equal sigma x plus sigma y by 2 plus sigma x minus sigma y by 2 into cos 2 theta plus tau xy into sin 2 theta. This is the normal stress which is acting perpendicular to the plane which is acting at angle theta. Okay, this is the shear stress sigma x minus sigma y by 2 into sin 2 theta minus tau xy into cos 2 theta. Okay, these two are the normal stresses and shear stresses acting at the plane making the angle theta, and the resultant stress sigma are equal to sigma theta square plus tau theta square. Okay, we can calculate like this the resultant stress. And here one more important concept is the plane stresses. That is, in complex stresses, if shear stress is 0, then that stresses is called plane stresses. Okay, plane stresses. For plane stresses, the sigma x, which is the stress acting on horizontal axis, is nothing but of maximum principal stress, and the strain acting on y direction is nothing but of minimum principal stress. Whatever it may be, both we can vice versa. Okay. And in exams they will ask like this, they will give more loadings of the beam, and we have to draw the Mohr circle for the different beams like this. For the Mohr circle of this given diagram is like this, and Mohr circle of this given diagram is like this, and here total loadings are outward, that is the tension, and all are positive only, that side the positive side, that is the point, and these are two sides are compression and two sides are elongation. That means negative and positive should be in the complex stresses. Like this we can write the Mohr circle. There are different types of loadings are there. We can practice with the help of the some other exam books. And the next important topic is shear force and bending moment diagrams. Here they will give one beam like this, a simply supported beam with a point load or UDL or whatever it may be. And if we consider a simply supported beam with a point load, we can say the shear force diagram is like this, and bending moment diagram is like this. Okay, so it's a simple example I am telling. They will ask a type, they will give different types of loadings on the beams, and they will ask that how to draw the shear force and bending moment diagram in the exams. And here there is one important relation here. The loading is nothing but of the derivative of shear force. That is, here the shear force is integral of load. And one more thing, here shear force is derivative of bending moment. That is, bending moment is derivative integral of shear force. These two formulas are very important in the shear force and bending moment diagram concept. And one more thing here if we consider this beam, here the beam will bend like this. Okay, this is called as sagging. Okay, sagging. Here sagging is nothing but of, we should take always positive. How should we remember? Means positive in the sense that smiley. We will do diagram for smiley like this now. Okay, this is the sagging concept. And one more thing, if the beam is bent like this, okay, this is hogging. Hogging we will take negative. That means for sad people they will do diagram like this now. So this is the hogging concept. Okay, positive and negative. And we should learn the variation of shear force and bending moment for different types of loadings on the beams. Here, if point load acts on the beam, the variation of shear force is a rectangular. That means a linear. Is a constant variation. And here the variation of bending moment is linearly varying. That is a triangle shape. That is a linear variation. And if we consider the UDL on the beam, the variation of shear force is linear and it is a parabola. And if we consider UVL, uniformly varying load, the shear force variation is parabolic, square parabolic, and the variation of bending moment is cubic parabolic. That means you can see here is a inclined varying linearly, here linearly. Is a parabolic, is a parabolic. That is shifting from this bending moment to shear force for the next loading acting on the beam. If we learn this table, we can easily draw the each and every shear force and bending moment diagram for the different types of loadings on the beam. And the next important topic is center of gravity and moment of inertia calculation. Here let us consider one diagram. One body is like this. Okay, so here how should we calculate? Means here let us consider this is one rectangular, this is one triangle. Let us consider this is body 1 and this is body 2. Here from here to here this is x1, this is y1, and this is y2, this is the x2. The centroid calculation is x bar is equal to a1 x1 plus a2 x2 by a1 plus a2. Okay, like this, by y bar equal to a1 y1 plus a2 y2 by a1 plus a2. Like this we can calculate the centroid of any body, and different sections also we can calculate here. Here the next point is here calculating of moment of inertia. Here moment of inertia of the standard bodies like circular pi by 64 d power 4, and for rectangle bd cubed by 12, and for triangle bh cubed by 36. Like this there are different cross sections with different moment of inertias. For here the main thing is the calculation of moment of inertia for the complex sections. For example, let considering I am here a circular body like this. Okay, I cut this circular small section internal side of this bigger circular section. Here the moment of inertia for this complex section is pi by 64 capital D power 4 minus pi by 64 small d power 4. Like this, similarly also some different sections like this we can calculate. Or sometimes they will ask like a rectangular section with a small circular hole inside the body. Here also some BD cubed by 12 minus pi by 64 minus d power 4. Like this we can calculate the moment of inertia of the complex stresses here. And the next important concepts in theory of pure bending is, here first we should remember the bending moment equation, that is m by I equal to sigma by y equal to E by R. Okay, this is very important formula. Here m is bending moment, I is the moment of inertia, bending stresses, and the maximum distance from the centroid, and nodal axis. Here this is the Young's modulus, this is the R is radius of curvature. Okay, so here if we divide with the moment of inertia with this y value, that is the maximum distance from the nodal axis, we will get this section modulus. Okay, section modulus value. What is the use of the section modulus? In the sense that we can compare different types of cross sections. Let us consider this is the circular cross section, this is the square cross section with the diameter d and side a. Okay, they will ask a question like this: which beam is more strength? Okay, which beam is having more strength here out of this circular and square cross section? If we get z value of this circular cross section and square cross section, whichever is having highest section modulus, that is z value, that will become the more strength. Okay, here for square cross section the z value is more than the circular cross section, so that the strength of the square cross section is more than the circular cross section. Like this we can compare with the help of this section modulus value. And in exam they will give most of questions based upon this bending moment equation. Okay. And the next important chapter is shear stresses in beams. Here the shear force calculation is, shear stress is nothing but of shear force F A y bar by IB. Okay, this formula we can use to calculate the shear stress. And the distribution for the different sections is like this, the shear stress distribution. And for circular cross section also similarly like this, the distribution. Here the shear stress is inversely proportional to width of the beam, that is this is B. As the width of the beam is increasing, shear stress will decrease. Okay, so like this. Here the tau max for the rectangular cross section is 3 by 2 times of tau average. Here tau average is nothing but of here we can calculate tau average with the help of area, that is shear force by area of this cross section, that is B into D. Okay, we have to substitute this tau average here and we will get the maximum shear stress. For rectangular also, that is 4 by 3 times of tau average. Here tau average is nothing but of A by, here pi by 4 d square, this is the area, this is the tau average, and we can substitute here and we will get the tau max. Here for triangle cross section there will exist two stresses, that is tau max and shear stress at the nodal axis. Here tau max is nothing but of 3 by 2 times of tau average, and tau nodal axis is nothing but of 4 by 3 times of tau average. Okay, and here for the diamond shaped structure the maximum shear stress exists at the 2 points here. Okay, this is the distribution. Okay, this is distance d by 2 and d by 2. The distance from the one end to this maximum shear stress is 3d by 8. This is d by 8. Okay, they will ask a question like this: what is the distance from the one end of the diamond cross section to the point where the maximum shear stress will exist? They will ask the d by 8, 2d by 8, 3d by 8, like this. Okay, we should remember this one. And the maximum shear stress here is 9 by 8 times of tau average. Okay, so these are the different cross sections with the shear stress distribution. We should remember this formula for the calculation of shear stress. And here I am showing different cross sections with the distribution of how the shear stress is taking place. And they will ask exams in the cross sections, and we have to draw this distribution of the shear stress. Okay, please check all these diagrams how I distributed the shear stress here. Okay, this question asked in GATE 1 year. Okay, please note these diagrams of shear stress distribution for various sections. And the next most important concept is torsion or twisting. Here, what is the twisting here? I will explain here. Let us consider this is a beam which is fixed at one end like this, which is fixed at one end, and the other end I am applying a torque like this. The beam is twisting like this. Okay, beam is twisting like this. I am applying torque like this and beam is twisting like this. Okay, with the help of this concept, they gave one derivation here. T by J equal to tau by R is equal to G theta by. This is a very very important formula. Based upon this formula only they are asking questions every year in the GATE exam. Here T is the torque applied on the beam, and theta is the how much angle the beam is twisted. Okay, this is the theta, and how shear stress is developed on the beam, and J is the polar moment of inertia here. This polar moment of inertia nothing but of a moment of inertia about the z axis. Okay, that is sum of the moment of inertia of x axis and y axis. Here we should calculate the maximum shear stress. How means 16 into T by pi d cube. This is the very important formula. With this formula we can use to calculate the shear stress. Okay, for solid sections how we can distribute the shear stress, and for hollow sections how is the shear stress distribution. Okay, this is the torsion concept. Just remember this formula to solve each type of any questions in the exam. And the next important concept is slopes and deflection here. Let us consider how slopes and deflection I can explain. Let us consider this is the beam. Here load is acting like this. Because of this load, the beam will deflect like this. Okay, this total elongation from this point to this point is nothing but of deflection delta, and this is the angle theta, that is nothing but a slope. Okay, this is the deflection. Like this we should calculate the slopes and deflection. For example, if we consider simply supported beam, load is acting like this, the beam will deflect like this. Okay, this is the total deflection, this is the angle theta, that is nothing but a slope. Okay, there are different types of beams with different types of loadings. For the analysis I just told this one. If we remember the formulas, we can easily solve the slopes and deflection questions. And these are the some standard formulas you can remember without any derivation. Okay, for cantilever beam with the moment acting, and this is the slopes and deflection. Cantilever with the load acting at one end, and if cantilever with the load is acting at center, how can we calculate this shear force and this angle and slope and deflection. And here the uniformly distributed load, uniformly varying load, the point load for simply supported beam, uniformly distributed load for simply distributed beam. How this theta and delta we can calculate here. Just remember these formulas, we can easily solve the questions. Okay. And the next important concept in strength of material is columns. Here there are two types of columns are there, long columns and short columns. If we consider the long column, if load is acting like this, the beam, the column will bend like this. Okay, this is nothing but of a buckling, that is a buckling of column. If we consider the short column, the load is acting like this, the beam will crush like this, that is like this. You see here, the cracks will appear like this, that is crushing of this beam like this. Okay, so this is nothing but of crushing of the short column. This long column will subject to buckle and short column will subject to crushing. Here the buckling load that is also called as cripping load, that is P buckler pre kipping is equal to y square EA by LE square. Okay, this is the formula to calculate the buckling load. Here this is LE nothing but of effective length. Here this effective length is different for the different types of beams. If both sides are fixed, the effective length is L by 2. If one end is fixed, other end is hinged, that is nothing but of L by root 2. And both sides are hinged means that is LE is nothing but of L only. For cantilever beam, that is fixed at one end, other free at other end is nothing but of 2L. Okay, these are the different effective lengths for the different beams. Here in ISRO 2017, they asked one question: what is the order of this buckling load? That is, for the fixed beam with both sides fixed, what is the buckling? For the beam with fixed at one end and hinged at other end, what is the buckling? Like this, the order they given. That is, buckling load of both sides fixed is greater than buckling load of both sides, one side fixed and one side hinged. That is greater than buckling load of both sides hinged and greater than buckling load of cantilever beam. Okay, this is the order. This question is given in ISRO 2017. Okay, in December. Okay, please remember this one, important. In GATE also they may give. And here the cripping load is or buckling load is inversely proportional to the effective length, square of inverse length, square of this effective length. Okay, and slenderness ratio is nothing but of effective length by minimum radius of gyration. Minimum radius of gyration. Here radius of gyration K is nothing but of square root of moment of inertia by area of the body. Okay, this is the radius of gyration. And here if the length of the beam is less than 80, that beam is nothing but a failed by the crushing, that is nothing but a short column. Indirectly it will tell that if the length of the beam is less than 80, then that beam is called a short column and fails by the crushing. And if the length of the beam is greater than 200, okay, length of the beam is greater than 200, that fails by what? Buckling. Okay, that is nothing but of indirectly it tells that it's a long column. They will ask question like this: what is the length for the short column? 80, 90, 20 like this. Okay, that should be less than 80, and for long column it should be greater than 200. And some of concept is there, that is the core or kern of the section. Here if the beam is like this, and the internal diameter d, which is a hole, if we act the load on this one to avoid tension, that eccentricity, the distance between this point and this load acting on point is should be less than capital D square plus small d square by 8 times of capital D. This formula directly they will ask in exams. Okay, this is the total about the columns concept. And the next important chapter is thin cylindrical cells. Here thin in the sense that the thickness of the cell to the diameter of the cell should be less than 1 by 15 to 1 by 20 times of this ratio. Okay, then that only that shell is nothing but of thin cylindrical cells. Otherwise it may consider as a thick cylindrical cell. Here the stresses here are circumferential stress or hoop stresses are maximum stresses, that is PD by 2T, and longitudinal stress are PD by 4T here. We should remember these two formulas. But to calculate the maximum shear stress in the thin cylindrical cells, that is the maximum stress to minimum stress by 2. Okay, here the minimum stress is nothing but of 0. Why? Because here in thin cylindrical cells we should consider the radial stresses as equal to 0. So that here sigma, because of this minimum value is 0, sigma max by 2 will consider for the shear stresses, and that too PD by 2T by 2, that is nothing but of PD by 4T. This is the maximum shear stress. For these cylindrical vessels also, these longitudinal stress and circumferential stress are both are equal, are also called as hoop stresses, that is PD by 4T directly we can consider. Similarly, as like the maximum shear stress here, sigma max minus sigma minimum by 2. Here minimum is 0 because of the radial stresses, that is PD by 4T minus 0 by 2, that is PD by 18. This is the maximum shear stress in the spherical vessels. If we remember these formulas, we can solve the questions in the exam easily. And the next important concept is the strain energy concept. Here energy in the sense that is nothing but of a work. Okay, here if I consider a bar like this acting a load like this on both sides, or stress or load whatever it may be, here if I draw the load P versus elongation, if it may be like this. Okay, here if I consider area under this load versus elongation curve, if it will be like this, this is nothing but of work done during this elongation of this bar. Okay, this work done is nothing but of strain energy, that is nothing but of, we will indicate this strain energy with letter U, that is nothing but of area under this curve, that is triangle of base into height. Okay, here of base is nothing but of delta, height is P, that is P into delta. Okay, here sigma is equal to load by area, and strain is equal to change in length by original length. Here of, I can write load as a sigma into area, and change in length is nothing but of strain into length. Okay, 1 by 2 into here area into length, that is nothing but of volume, sigma into strain into volume. Okay, here sigma is nothing but of Young's modulus into strain, that is 1 by 2 into sigma into, I can write this Young's strain is nothing but of sigma by E. Okay, so here sigma by E into volume, that is 1 by 2 sigma square by E into volume, that is strain energy is nothing but of sigma square by 2E into volume for the simple loading. Okay, similarly strain energy in a member subject to torsion, that is U equal to tau square by 4G into volume. Okay, similarly if the beam is a subject, member is subjected to the shear stress, that is strain energy is equal to tau square by 2G into volume. Okay, and if the member is subjected to a bending moment, that is the strain energy is nothing but of sigma square by 2E into volume. These are the different strain energies for the different members with the different types of loadings. And here three important points are here: strain energy absorbed within the elastic point. Here let us consider this is the elastic point. The energy absorbed with this elastic point is nothing but of resilience. Okay, that too, if that strain energy is the maximum, then we can consider it as a proof resilience. Okay, these two are important here. The modulus of resilience is a concept here, that is nothing but a proof resilience per unit value. That is, here if we consider strain energy equal to sigma square by 2e into volume here. If this is considered as a modulus of proof resilience per unit volume is nothing but if the value comes like this, sigma square by 2e is the modulus of resilience. Okay, this is important one. These are the most important concepts in the strength of material subject. So you may enjoyed this channel, and please subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching my channel. Thank you.